Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a reading for the Boyz Sunwoo. I believe yesterday was his birthday, and I thought that I read for him, but actually he's not in the Aries season list, so I'm going to take the opportunity and read for him, since I have done a lot of different kinds of reading for this month. But yes, every season is not entirely over yet, so let's continue with this reading for him. He had the card of the Six of Swords, the Judgment, Knight of Cups, Nine of Swords, Eight of Cups. Then from the Oracle, Jupiter in Taurus status. So definitely I think that I know that the Boyz had been in tour, on tour, and probably they will be touring this year. And among this traveling and movement, definitely I find these cards to be very like deep. I sense that there's something going on with Sunwoo internally, like he's going through a moment of a lot of realizations, like he's getting very much in contact with how he's feeling. Probably he's thinking about the purpose of his life, something very deep and meaningful. That probably makes him a bit anxious sometimes, to think about his value, his purpose, like what am I doing this for? And also his desire to sometimes walk away from things. And with this, I don't mean that he wants to leave the group or something like that. No, not at all. But I think that in his mind, definitely there's a guy that he would want to experience more freedom. Probably it has to do with his creativeness, with his creativity, with his involvement in creating music. He had been like going through a moment of a lot of observation, a lot of transformation. Um, he wishes things weren't this superficial. I don't know. He just feels like he could do more. He wants to move on so fast. Like, I'm not saying he doesn't enjoy where he's at the moment, but somehow he wants more. He wants to be in another state in his career. And from the oracle he got the card of status, so definitely I think that he would want to be more recognized. And he's thinking about it. He's thinking about, like, what is our group status. Like, we had been here for a while, and there are moments where I feel like we are still struggling. Like, we still have to prove ourselves to certain people or to certain environment. So there's a conflict inside of him, because he's like, okay, what can I do for the group? And what can I do for myself? So probably I think that also his mind is expanding because he's doing some individual activities. And actually this is what actually he feels very comfortable in doing. Like, probably in the past he was a bit hesitant to do things outside the group, but now that he's on it, now that he's also spending time with people that has more experience or life experiences than him. So he's absorbing all that. He's like a sponge at this moment. He's like absorbing every little um, experience, knowledge, opinion, commentary. Um, he's definitely like very open to receiving advice. Um, he's overcoming a lot of his fears. But I think that he also compares himself a lot to others, and he's like, "Oh, I wish I could be like they are," So I believe it's all about ideas and probably, writing more of his own songs and being able to have them accepted. Probably going solo as well, doing some solo projects and having his solo moment. Let's remember Sonu's energy. He is an Aries with the moon in Leo, so there's a lot of desire for him to show his individuality. It's just that he doesn't know how, um, because he does have to give up to other things, so it's not easy. Oh, but emotionally, sometimes he's like, I'm over this concept. I don't know. He feels like there are some concepts that no longer represent him, and he's like, I wish we could do things that were cooler, but I'm not sure. Um, I think he had introduced like ideas in the past, and these weren't very well received, or they were just ignored. So he's like, okay, I'm moving on. Okay, I'm flowing with whatever happens. But definitely when I see the Knight of Cups here in the middle, definitely I sense that he's a very emotional guy. He's a guy that he does love his members. He does love the group, and he does love the fandom very much. So sometimes he feels guilty for feeling like this. This is why when I pull the cards, and I found all these sorts of these emotions, there's something changing inside of him. And he feels very like a bit paranoid about it. He feels like, how come I cannot stop thinking about this? Maybe I'm being selfish. And there's something about him embracing that it's okay to have individual desires, and it's okay to be thinking about himself. He probably is like, I could do more. I could show different sides of myself. Um, I want to show different sides of myself, and this is not being selfish. Um, this is maturing. Actually, he's maturing. He's moving on from a phase, and he's no longer that person. He's shedding his skin. He's slowly like transforming himself and being like, I have a lot of potential. And also probably, people praising him a lot about, you know about how charming he is, and about how honest he is, and how transparent he is. um so he's like, wow, yes, I guess I have this ability. I guess I can be very sentimental person, and actually being praised about it, and not being considered like weak or too much in his feelings. Actually, he's a very generous person. And I think that this is his conflict, because probably he has a lot of ideas or a lot of things written down, like dreams, aspirations, um, and somehow they are being kept in a drawer. They are being kept in a drawer. So it's like he has to release that. He has to release his potential. Honestly, this year is not so much about taking action. I think that it's a year of a lot of reflection and him going through these moments of where realization definitely hits him, and he's like, wow, I had all these feelings inside. So probably he's a guy that slowly he is like stopping and reflecting how emotional he feels. And probably there's a lot of emotions that he had been hiding or repressing in himself because he had to keep going. Probably he's a guy that he emotionally he had been resisting a lot. He had been like suppressing his emotions a lot. You know, um and he tried to remain like stable. But there are things that definitely like moved him emotionally. There's a lot of things that he went through. Um and here with the judgment is like, you're still healing. You're still in the process of healing. And probably he has a lot of inner fear. So I don't know what is it about. But this whole years is going to be about him accepting that he is that he had conflicts with himself in the past, and that even though he overcome a lot of struggles and obstacles, and the other members did as well, that emotionally he's a guy that he's sometimes he feels sad, sometimes he feels overwhelmed. It's just that this is a guy that he doesn't allow himself to stop, because we start with the card of the Six of Swords, and we end the reading with the card of the Eight of Cups. So if you notice, these cards are about moving on, about, it seems like the Six of Swords is about like, oh, going to a trip, traveling, but it's deeper than that. It's about when we are always like on the move. But I think that in this case for him, he literally is traveling, like he literally is going to new places, or he's literally like moving, and going to different scenarios, but his mind is stuck in the same place. So we finish the reading with the Eight of Cups. That is like, finally I'm able to move on emotionally from what hurt me in the past. So I think that this is very important because there are some things that he has to work on emotionally. Um, Probably this is a person that he doesn't share with others his struggles. Probably, or he has insecurities that he doesn't share with others, or things affect him very deeply, very deeply, but he doesn't do anything. He just accepts and move on. He just accepts and gets going. He doesn't stop to reflect. And this year is all about embracing his emotions and embracing that he had tough moments. He had moments where he doubted himself. He had moments where he was tired and exhausted and even a bit traumatized by the way everything was happening. I don't know why, but I think that definitely he's showing me here that probably it has to do with the boys' activities, and with them traveling different places and locations, and I think that this is coming from the past, that probably they did a lot of promotions overseas. He went to different places, and also with Eric being absent, you know, only he knows what he went through, and for him it was like, okay, I will adapt and I will show that I can do this. But there were some moments of a lot of exhaustion, um, and and he was a bit overwhelmed by everything. So this year, probably he's still under that um, influence. He probably will have to deal with his emotions. But since he has the Knight of Cups in the middle of the reading, I sense that he's more willing and not so resistant to accept his emotions, to accept that, yes, maybe he's been feeling a bit too sensitive lately, or maybe he's like, I don't know, daydreaming a lot, or he's reflecting a lot about the past, or he just gets emotional, remembering something. And that these are all like somehow side effects of having a lifestyle where he wasn't allowed to stop to reflect, and it seems like he didn't have the time to stop and think. And probably this is the reality of a lot of uh, the Boyz members, that they do not have the privilege to stop and reflect about certain things that were harsh, and that they really went through a lot, not just physically but also draining emotionally. And I think that Sonu, you know, the older he gets, the more in touch with his emotions he's going to get. He's going to get a bit more, how would I say, a bit more of a crybaby, but he's going to get a bit more emotional. That when you ask him to talk about himself, he's going to keep silent, and just before he can say a word, he can probably like start crying, because it's like he's saying goodbye to something. you know um Probably Sonu feels nostalgic also about his childhood, or it's not about childhood, but probably it's about being a normal child, or being a normal teenager. Um, because, he is an Aries, and I was like, okay, I'm supposed to get cards that talk to me about energy, or about fire and passion. And actually I didn't get all those. Actually, I did get a lot of cups, and I do get this card of Jupiter in Taurus. So definitely he's slowly like getting into his more emotional era. um and also, like, he definitely worries about status. He probably worries about, you know, I want my group to have a better status. I want to represent them well. I want to promote them well. I want people to respect us more. I want us to be more valued. I want us to be in the list, and probably they are, because I think that definitely he feels the love. He feels the love. But somehow he's so traumatized by how hard things were from day one, that sometimes he's like, I'm feeling a bit like emotional. Like I cannot, I'm afraid. Like every time someone gives me love and validation, I feel a bit fearful that they will not love me. So there's like this inner battle inside of him with accepting love. He's like, okay, I know I deserve it. I know they say they love me, but what if someday they wake up and they realize that they don't like me anymore? There's something about, I don't know if he was like very criticized in the past. Um, and it still haunts him sometimes. So he doubts a bit, he's like, am I really good enough? Like, so probably, I think that this year is all about embracing these emotions, and probably like also accepting that he's in a new state right now, and that he shouldn't worry that much about the future, you know. And here with the card of status, definitely Sonu is going to contribute to the group getting more status, and probably himself, he also is going to get the status individually, because he doesn't realize it, but actually he people really like him in the industry. He has like, people know of him in the industry, and he's viewed as a very cute guy, very loving, very very cute, and also very, like, very honest, like he wears his heart on his sleeves, this is why he got all these cups here. um and obviously this year he has to continue working, like slowly and steadily, like the Taurus energy, like the Mars in Taurus that he is. He has to slowly and patiently, work on his status. He will get there eventually. It's just that probably it's taking a lot more time because it's a slow process for him, but he will eventually like meet and have very important connections that will allow him to get to fulfill his aspirations when it comes to his career. So he will slowly get there. It's just that before he does all this, he has to work on himself and his memories of the past, and everything that they went through. So yes, guys, this is all I have for him. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I see you in the next video. Bye.